Hey, let's talk about it, cause honestly we need to talk about social issues, just uplifting my people. Yeah, let's talk about it. Come join the conversation. A connection's what we're creating. Yeah.
Boom. Let's talk about it. Good morning. I'm gonna try to make this short and sweet, right? But a lot of times, we as a people, I'm including myself, we say no weapon formed against us shall prosper, right? That's something that's been passed down, and we look at it every time something's going on. We always be like, there's no weapon formed against us that shall prosper. But sometimes you're the weapon. Sometimes you are that weapon. And let me explain what I mean, right? Lauryn Hill said, how you gonna win if you ain't right within? A lot of times, right, we sit back and we're losing a battle, and the battle is up here, right? So we sit back and we say things like, no weapon formed against me shall prosper, right? That's like a shield. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. But the problem is your self-talk. Case in point, a lot of times because we're afraid of being lonely, right? This is just one example, right? You're afraid of being by yourself. And a lot of times you're afraid to be by yourself because you're forced to deal with things that you have been putting off for so long. So because you are afraid of being by yourself, you'll settle for anything just to have comfort of knowing someone's there. That's why a lot of people overstay their season, right? Sometimes you have to go through a season of loneliness, right? Because in being alone, you learn who you are. And a lot of times people, they want these distractions because they can't deal with what they see in the mirror. When they look in the mirror, they don't know what they're looking at because they've been lying to themselves for so long, right? They've been lying to themselves for so long. And that magnifies itself or shows itself in so many different forms, right? A lot of times we sit back and we be like, I'm humble. No, you're not humble. You're just afraid. See, there's a difference, right? You're not humble. You're just afraid. You're afraid that if you say, the good things that's happening in your life, something bad is going to happen because that's how it's always been. Think about it. I'm going to say that again. You're not humble. You're afraid. If you have had a string of good things happening, and if in your past, when it seems like everything good is happening, something bad's going to happen, you stop speaking about the good things because you say, I don't want to jinx myself. I don't want to jinx myself. So you mask that by saying, I'm humble. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to this, that, and other. No, listen, sometimes when God does something for you, right, it's for you to let the masses know. Because when that's why testimony service, right? Back in the day, we used to have testimony service. And, a lot of times, when I was younger, I would laugh sometimes, right? We had these testimony services and I would laugh because sometimes people would get up there. And to me, I thought it was some of the craziest things, right? Sometimes people would stand up and they'd be like, I thank God I was looking for a parking spot and I circled that parking spot and ooh, Jesus, I looked and there was a parking spot. And as a child, I would laugh. Because I'd be like, what in the world is going through? But as I start growing and as I start maturing, I start understanding that maybe in that moment, that's what that person needed. See, back in the day, it was a different type of church. It was a different type of atmosphere, right? Because people were giving God thanks for the little things. We fast forward now, some people only give God thanks for the huge things. They give God thanks for that car, but they don't give God thanks for waking up in the morning. They give God thanks for that new promotion, but they don't give God thanks for the right mind. So when I say that battle up here, that's what you got to win. You have to win this battle up here. There are so many people that are hurting, right, in silence. But it's because they're losing up here. See, when you're not right within, the people that's trying to help you, you start looking at them as enemies. Oh, no, they ain't trying to, because you have to put a name to something. That's why so many people are walking around here just frustrated and angry. They're frustrated and angry, not because of things, it's because of themselves. That's why you have to have these distractions. Sometimes I can sit in a room, not have a TV on, not have nothing on, and just be in silence, right? And I'm okay. Now, when I wasn't right within, that would drive me crazy. Silence would just drive me crazy, because in silence, I would have to deal with myself. There was no distractions. So now I can sit in silence because I'm so self-aware of myself. When I start drifting, I'm so self-aware of myself. I know it. And I got to be like, okay, hold on. Let me get this thing going back on course. Sometimes when I sit back and this is case in point. I can see a post, and back in, back when I wasn't, on this journey, a simple post can take me all the way left. Especially a lying post can take me all the way left. And now I'm back in that, oh man, this, that, oh my goodness, right? But now I had to learn why that post made me upset. It had nothing to do with that person. Like I always say, a liar is going to be a liar. You can't get mad at a liar. Only thing that you can do is get mad at yourself for thinking that they changed. Only thing you can do is get mad at yourself for letting them around you, right? So I had to sit back and I started thinking, and I was just like, okay, it's not the lie. Maybe it's touching something that I already thought about myself. See, there was a point in time to where, these people that quote unquote love me or this, that, and the other secretly are saying, oh, he thinks he's all that. Oh man, he thinks he's all that, right? And it wasn't the fact that they were saying it. It's that internally I was thinking, maybe I'm less than, maybe I'm this, that, and the other, right? See, you can only get upset when somebody's speaking to your demons. And we all have, if you don't want to call them demons, we all have things that we think about ourselves. And when somebody speaks to those things, that's what causes you to get upset. If somebody told me right now, man, you fat, that does nothing to me because I know I'm not fat. But if someone tells me, man, you ain't living up to your potential, and if I thought that I wasn't, that's what angers me. That's why when you're scrolling and you see something, that thing causes you to have a reaction because it's speaking to your spirit. It's speaking to what you think about yourself. In relationships, if y'all mad at each other and there's a post that talks about maybe that person isn't your soulmate, this, that, and other, that resonates to how you're feeling right now. And then you would turn around and say, God's speaking to me. No. That's your inner demons. That's the part of you that needs to heal. That's why I do my best to surround myself with things that are good for my soul. That's why I try to surround myself with things that are good for my soul. I try to have conversations that's going to be good for my soul. Because if I allow myself to be in these conversations that speak into the shortcomings in my life, I will never get to where I need to go. And that's how you need to think. If one of your shortcomings is you're thinking less of yourself. If one of your shortcomings is you're thinking like, man, I'm never going to get better. Why would you be in conversation with people who think just like you? I know it's comfortable. That's why when you get a group of 5 that's always gossiping, they're comfortable in doing that. But when you step away from that, then you start looking at that different, like, man, look at them. So this video was to anybody out there that finds themselves in this thing where they're saying no weapon formed against me. First, you need to find out if you're the weapon. You got to win the battle up here. I love y'all. I hope y'all have a great Friday.